Hey, good morning, committee members and other parties of interest. This is the Reconvened Evaluation Committee meeting for RFP-25-00293 Disaster Recovery Management Program. My name is Ethan Kersey, and I'm the senior buyer assigned to this project. This meeting is being held in part by means of communications media technology and has been publicly noticed. Active participation will be for committee members only. Provisions have been made for any member of the public who desire to have access to view the meeting. The recording will also be available after the meeting has ended. If you're watching online, please make sure you mute your microphone and turn off your camera for the duration of the meeting. Please be advised that the cone of silence is still in effect. All meetings and correspondence must include me. Again, for the record, this meeting is being recorded and has been publicly noticed. At this time, I'll ask each committee member to introduce themselves for the record.
Robert Hendrickson, Management and Budget.
Carol Howell, Community Impact.
Irma Muka, Management and Budget.
Audrey Siegler, Social Services.
Debbie Benavides, Enterprise Solutions and Quality Assurance.
Sarah Wells, Human Services.
Lauren Storage, Water Resources.
Thank you. On September 26, 2025, the Evaluation Committee requested oral presentations from all 7 potentially accepted proposers for RFP-25-00293, and the presentations were complete on October 2nd and 3rd, 2025. Also on October 3rd, 2025, the Evaluation Committee requested best and final offers from the proposers, which were received on October 10th, 2025. The Evaluation Committee will now discuss and score the proposals as they relate to the evaluation criteria and requirements set forth in the solicitation. The Evaluation Committee Chair will help to facilitate the conversation. After each criterion is discussed, please state the final consensus score agreed upon by each committee member so that I may record it in the scoring spreadsheet. After the conclusion of the scoring, I will verify the scores of the committee, announce the points for evaluation criteria number 3, cost, and provide the ranking. We will discuss and score the proposals in alphabetical order, beginning with Elite Business Strategies, LLC. And with that, Rob, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ethan. First and foremost, thank you to all of our proposers for all of your hard work and participation in this process. To the evaluation team members, we have intentionally been very methodical in this approach and thorough, working towards our aim of being as fair as possible in the evaluation of the proposals so that we can best equip our board with the information they need to make a decision. So again, thank you, everyone. It's been a long but important process and an important one for our community. With that being said, Ethan, as you mentioned, we're starting with Elite Business Strategies. Our approach will be, we will go around the room clockwise, with each person providing a score for qualifications out of 50 points, methodology out of 35, and just a brief summary of the rationale behind your scorings. We won't go into the depth that we did in the first meeting where we really dove into each proposal in depth. Any questions before we begin and eventually get to consensus scores for each of these proposers? Going once, going twice. Okay. So the first company is Elite Business Strategies. And if we could start with you, Lauren, we'll hear you out. And again, by the time we get to me, we'll see if we're all close on a final score and we can work toward that number at that point.
Okay, sure. So for the qualifications out of 50, I gave 32 points, and methodology and approach, I gave 22 points. I thought they were what appeared to be kind of a newer firm. They didn't have as close to the direct experience that I think would have probably given them more points in my eyes for the type of proposal that we were looking for. So that's how I arrived at my scores.
Okay. For qualifications and experience, I gave 8 out of 50. And for mythology and approach, I gave 15. This was based on the fact that Joplin at 140 million was their most comparable project. I think they had limited experience in bench strength, and their subcontractor partnership history is very limited.
Thank you.
Okay, for qualifications, experience, and capacity, 20 points. For methodology and approach, 16. Basically, due to a limited breadth of experience and limited details on approach and methodology.
Okay. For qualifications, 32 and methodology 25. While they did have relevant experience in the New York project, they're overall limited
evidence of managing full spectrum, which would be required for this big task here in Florida.
You said 32 and 25%?
32 and 25.
Okay, thank you. Irma?
Qualifications, experience, and capacity, I gave 32 points. Methodology and approach, 20 points. I thought their proposal showed some experienced staff, however, there were no details or resumes for some of them. They showed some capacity with one of their case studies in New York, but other case studies were not comparable to the counties. I felt that they placed a lot of reliance on contracted staff. And I also felt that oral presentations did not alleviate my concerns.
For methodology, I have 21. And for qualifications, I have 30. They just seem very, very limited in terms of their ability to manage a project of this size.
Thank you, everyone. I would echo just their experience wasn't at the level we required, and we also heard from none of their references through the process. So looking at the scores, we have a few in the 20s and a few in the 50s. Would people be comfortable with a score of 45? Well, they have to do one each, don't they?
Yep.
Sorry.
Criteria 1, qualifications, experience.
So for qualifications, we have 4 in the 30s. We have 20. We have a couple of that are lower. I gave 15 for qualifications and 10 for methodology coming in. Would we, based on the range, be comfortable with 25 for qualifications for this firm? Any strong feeling otherwise?
Everyone agrees?
Everyone agree? And then methodology, we have several in the teens and several in the 20s. Low 20s. Would we be comfortable with 20 for methodology for this firm? Everyone's going close? Okay.
Agrees. Okay, so that is 25 for criteria 1 and 20 for criteria 2.
Yep, so, yes.
Great.
Thank you. Our next firm is Ernst & Young, and Lauren, Sandra will go around the room. Thank you.
So for qualifications, I gave 48 and methodology, I gave 34. They had a very strong proposal. I thought their oral presentation echoed that strength. They seemed very cohesive. Their subs seemed to have a wide range of experience. And I really think they were very comfortable in the platform that they had presented in their proposal and could, kind of answer all of the concerns that the committee had about using that platform with this program. So those were reasons for my scores.
Great, thank you. Sarah, you're next.
Gave them for qualification experience 34 and for mythology and approach 32. I believe that they have the bandwidth and the capacity to undertake this. I loved it that they have good financial stability. I liked it that they had managed projects of this size, not necessarily end-to-end process, but they had managed projects of this size. And also that we have actually worked with the organization prior.
For qualifications, experience, and capacity, 37. For methodology and approach, 33. They are very experienced, have the capacity. The presentation was very innovative, detailed, professional, well laid out. Really just complemented their submission, which was very thorough.
Qualifications 48, methodology 35. Strong local presence and based on the review of the application, the oral presentation to me strengthened all of that information and reinforced that they really could provide on what they submitted in their written.
Thank you.
Okay, for qualifications, experience, and capacity, I gave 48 points. Methodology and approach, 34. I felt their proposal demonstrated that the firm is well established with strong experience. They have a capable team, local presence, and an organizational structure that supports managing our program. I thought the proposal outlines in a clear and well-structured way their approach, and it defined the roles well. I mean, I thought their oral presentation was great and kind of strengthened everything they said with their proposal.
Okay.
For me, for their qualifications, I have 35. For their methodology, 29. I thought they had a really good application, and I thought their presentation was sound as well. So they were very, very prepared.
Great. I gave them 48 for quals, 35 for methodology. On a couple of bases. I think their methodology and proposal section, their methodology section of the proposal was the strongest. I was able to get through and receive very positive reference checks by all of the people they suggested. And the third thing I appreciated during orals was there was plenty of time for the subcontractors to speak. And they very much conveyed that they were an integrated team in that respect. We didn't just hear from one person, we heard from almost all their key players. So based on that, we have a number of us who are clustered around 47, 48 for quals and between 33 and 35 for methodology, and a couple of folks who are a bit lower with mid-30s for qualifications and low 30s, high 20s for methodology. For the folks who scored lower, what are your feelings relative to the other scores? Do you see room to increase those? How are you feeling about that relative to the group as we try to get toward a consensus?
I'm happy to increase mine based on the consensus in the room,
Okay,
because they did do an overall, good presentation. It was a strong presentation and it was a strong apology.
okay. That's Cheryl.
So I think they did a really good job on the presentation. And I think, that there was a lot of maybe influence on the fact that they did work with ARP before. And so, but I didn't personally work with them. And I thought their application was good. I thought their presentation was better, but I know that presentation doesn't always equal the kind of output that you need. So some of the end things that was missed in the actual application, like them being able to handle the whole process, was a concern for me. So I wouldn't, I didn't score them up in the high 40s because of that. But I do understand that it does take a number of different agencies to really pull this together. So
Right now, we're, for someone who said, Sarah, tell me if I'm interpreting this incorrectly. Right now, we're at qualification score of 47 to 48. Not including for Cheryl's concerns that she just mentioned. With the group, again, the number cited the most by four of us was 48. If the group lived at 48 or 47, I can support that. And you're right, some of us have had more experience, but in my case, it was really favorable. And on the ground, difficult times than COVID, so I have a fair sense, but basing it mainly on the proposal.
And they referenced that proposal.
Right, yeah, exactly.
mhm.
So right now,
48.
48, can we go to 48? Consensus score?
Everyone agrees 48?
Yes.
I really don't, but I don't think so.
Keep working through it then.
I mean, I don't think that, 48 is kind of maxed out, and so I thought it was at least one other firm that really did a lot better in their application. And so I won't speak on that, but yeah, so I'm not comfortable with that, not at all.
Okay, so we have to keep working on it then.
Where are you at, Sheriff? What number are you at?
Maybe around.
I'm sorry, Rob, I should be asking questions. I think that's your job.
That's okay.
I mean,
This conversation or we.
That's okay. I was gonna know the next question.
I mean, kind of the assumption was that like most of the people were at 48, but not, you know, so it was a couple of people at 48. But most of the people were counted in like the 30s, right? So I think I would be comfortable with a mid number like 40, but not 48.
Just to clarify, 5 of us were in the high 40s. 5 were 47 or 48. You, Sarah, was 34 and you were 35. So 5 were 48, let's say, and 2 were, let's say, 35. Just to clarify, what it was the majority.
The average then seems probably around 40 or 41,
I mean,
42.
I don't know that it's as much an average as just us coming to a number that represents what they can do. I mean, they're, we can talk a little bit more about them. I mean, they're obviously a big blue chip company, a lot of bench strength. They're not over attenuated across the region. Some good innovation around their technology platform, which we honestly help create and can benefit from, but those are some of the factors. And the Orals, I think, convey the kind of team we could be in the trenches with for 6 years, doing good work and having fun at the same time, which I think is important. So
They were very flexible. My experience with them has been, and I don't know, can we speak to that?
They referenced or your work with them.
Okay, so our experience or my experience with them is through our team is when something didn't work, we didn't just pivot and change, we talked through it. They were in it, I mean, hours on end until we got to a solution, and they were a big part of making us successful. Until this day, we're still pivoting with them to make things work for reporting and whatnot, so.
counting for Cheryl's concerns, would we be
Right.
comfortable with 45? Would you be comfortable with 45 with the group?
I would be, I mean, I've gone up from 34 to 45.
Okay.
I think, sure.
45, okay, just to. And remember, we still have to do methodology, we haven't done that yet. 45, okay? Going once, going twice, okay.
Everyone agrees to 45?
Is that okay with the group? Okay.
45 for criteria.
Yes. On the methodology side, most of our numbers were in the 32 to 35 range. In fact, although I'm Charles, yours at 29.
Yeah.
Everyone else was again 32, 3, 4, 5. Would we be comfortable there with trying to kind of split the difference somewhat? A 33 for methodology, and in between the highs and lows there. Good with that? 33 it is.
33.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you. Our third firm, Right House. Do it again. Yeah, Lauren.
So for qualifications, I gave them a 38 and methodology, I gave 27. Their oral presentation didn't seem to be as cohesive as I was looking for with those presentations to really, you know, kind of show your team, put your best foot forward. It just seemed a little disjointed at times. And I think there was a fair amount of emphasis during the presentation placed on the fact that their key experience that they were drawing on was an allocation of a fraction of the money that the county is going to be working with. So that I really took into consideration with their quals and experience score.
Okay, so 38, 27.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
I gave them the qualifications and experience 29, and for mythology and approach 30. Once again, this was due to the fact that Joplin was identified as their most comparable project at 140 million. Harris County was mentioned, but that was not end-to-end RFP tasks, and their subcontractor partnership history. It was their first joint engagement with Atkins Realist, Vistra, and URP, which was 3 of their subcontractors.
Hey, Debbie?
Okay, for qualifications, experience and capacity, 31, for methodology and approach, 21. And basically no real experience with similarly sized and scoped projects. And the presentation did lack a lot of details that I was looking for to help fill in the gaps.
Okay. Audrey?
For qualifications 37, excuse me, and for methodology 27. I'm not sure I can really add more to what has already been said. I know they have a strong local presence. I worked with a couple people that were on the panel that spoke, but the oral presentation was lacking some comfort level for me.
Alright.
Qualifications, 38. Methodology and approach, 30. I thought the case studies included with the proposal were not comparable in scale to the county's needs. Some examples were limited in scope or performed by subcontractors. I also thought the proposal lacked details in areas of housing policies, intake and review processes. Also, they have a relationship with one of their engagement partners that is short-term, that raises a bit of concern. And then I'm also a bit hesitant regarding their proposed method of risk assessment.
Okay, sure.
For me, for their qualifications, I have 37, for their methodology, 32. I think basically because they had a lot of housing experience. They did not demonstrate the experience, not to me, not through their application or in their oral presentation of handling a project of this size. But their work in there with housing, and with this being the greater part of this grant, it gave me some comfort in that area. So.
Okay, I give 36 on qualifications and 30 on methodology. The only thing I can add to the group's input is during oral presentations, I didn't really get a sense for the combined integrated team that I was looking for across the way they each played parts in helping us understand their credentials and their approach. Our qualifications are all hovering around the high 30s. Mid to high 30s. Looking at the numbers would be comfortable with a qualification score of, say, 36. We'll leave it 36 as a group. Everyone agrees?
Yeah.
36. Okay. Okay. As we move to methodology, we have most of the scores, the very low 30s, 30 to 32. With a few in the high 20s and one in the lower 20s. Would we be okay with a methodology score of 27? Live with that as a group? Everyone's going twice? Everyone agrees? Okay, great. Our fourth firm is Horn, and Lauren, take it away.
So for Horn, for qualifications, I gave 48, and methodology, I gave 32. They seem to have extensive amount of experience, especially in administering projects of similar size. They spent a good amount of time in the proposal and in the presentation talking about the experience in Puerto Rico and talking about how they have managed a lot of the other proposers rather. So I think they presented a pretty extensive background in this area. I wished they left me wanting a little bit more in their presentation in terms of their methodology and approach. Felt like they spent a little bit too much time kind of talking about some of the negative things that have been going on rather than some of the positive things that they've been doing. So that was where I kind of reflected some of the input I heard from the presentation in that methodology score.
Thank you. Sarah?
For qualifications, I gave Horn 37. For mythology, I gave them 29. Basically, they demonstrate the ability to manage projects of this size. They have extensive experience managing CDBG projects. I, like Lauren, would like to learn more about the mythology. And one of my concerns, which has been my concern from the start, is their ability to provide adequate staffing to us based on the fact that they've engaged at multiple other counties at the moment.
Thank you. Debbie?
Okay, for qualifications, experience, and capacity, 42. For methodology and approach, 30. They had a solid proposal, good experience, and with similarly sized projects. But I was looking for some more details on the approach, hoping to see it in the presentation. Similar to what,
Okay. Yeah, Roger?
Okay, for qualifications, 45, methodology, 35. 20 years experience, spanning over 28 states. They were selected to draft the policy procedure templates for CDBG grants. The overall pretty impressive group proposal, and the oral presentation was good for me.
Okay.
For qualifications, 45, methodology and approach, 33. I thought through their proposals, they showed they have 19 plus years of experience managing large projects. They're had technical assistance providers since 2023. I thought they proposed a good structure, relevant case studies. So I think they have the capacity to manage the county's project. I think that's it.
Sure.
Thank you.
For me, for the qualifications, I have 34. I thought they had a very sound proposal. I think their presentation was pretty good. I do have some concerns, and I did express that. Some of the concerns that I have is the one that Rob brought up too was that they were being bought out. So I didn't really realize that, but some of the other concerns is just with the staffing in being able to cover the county well. But I thought they had a solid proposal. And on their methodology, I have 32. They didn't really go into a lot of it. I know they've depended on a lot of their partners in the past as well. Just as almost every one of these schools.
Great.
Just to be fair.
Thank you, Cheryl. I assigned them for qualifications of 48. They've done a lot of this work in many places. I think capacity is a concern, but the benefit is leveraging knowledge capital from all their engagements. So I kind of think of those as canceling out. Didn't hear from all their references. And then the oral presentation for me was a little bit too much information just from one person. I didn't get a really good sense for team from them. And their technology seems promising. So in terms of our numbers right now, for qualifications, we have.
Rob, I'm sorry, what was your methodology? And I get your score.
I'm sorry, methodology. I didn't talk about my methodology. I afforded them 30.
I just want to know.
For methodology, overall, I think the proposal was extremely easy to digest, which we appreciated, of course, leading up into this. But some of the details were just whether or not they would happen or not, I can't judge, only that they weren't really in the methodology section because it was summarized. So it's a trade-off there. So 48 for quals, 30. I gave 30 for methodology. So for qualifications in terms of the group, we have 2 in the high 40s, 3 in the mid 40s, and 2 roughly in the mid 30s. I'm summarizing, guys. It's not perfect science. When we think about a score for qualifications, would we, and again, I want to give deference to Sarah and Cheryl, give them a chance to talk about their scores because they were a bit lower in the group. We're looking at about a 42 or a 43 across the patch. Sarah, Cheryl, what are your feelings about a score of, say, 43?
What was the others? The other ones up in the top, how many were up in the,
In terms of what the group?
in the top?
Yeah, right, so we have 248s, 245s, 142. Sarah, you were at a 37 and Cheryl was at a 34. So we're clustering around, if we look at the pure numbers on the floor, we're clustering around a 45, 46 number, but I wanted to take into account the two of you who are in the 30s to just, be fair around where we get to a final number. So that puts us, I'm just throwing out here for suggestion 42, 43 type.
I'm fine.
That's 42 or 43. Do we have a preference? One number, but every number counts. So we want to be fair. What do you guys think?
43?
43 or 43 on qualifications. Okay, we'll agree.
Yes.
Okay. 43 for criteria one.
Yep. So for methodology, we're a little bit more consistent with most of us in low to mid 30s. Overall, we did have a 35, but most are in the 30, 32, 33 range with 129. Given that, and just looking at the numbers, would 31 be a number we could live with on methodology?
Could you repeat the range again?
Sure. I'll start from the top. We had 35, a 33, two 32s, two 30s, and a 29. So all those really hovering in the low 30s
32.
on a kind of a
Yeah.
give or take basis. So 31, 30, again, similar. Do we live with a 32 for methodology or horn?
Well, I think I'm the lowest, so I think I can come up with.
To 32? Would be comfortable with that, everyone? Okay,
It's 32.
32 it is.
We're making great time. You guys just want to do all 7 here?
Yes. We're the, I was gonna say dream team, but let's not get excited. It's gonna be think about it. Okay, all right. ICF is the next firm, and as usual, I'll hand it to Lauren to start the conversation.
Alright, so for qualifications, I gave them a 46 and methodology a 33. I thought they had a very strong proposal. They presented some strong cohesion with their oral presentation. I liked during their presentation, they mentioned that in our scoring or in our discussion, we had some feedback about not starting all of the projects at one time, and they incorporated that into their presentation and kind of, understood that that was a concern and incorporated that into, how they were gonna approach the project. I like that. They also had discussed about getting the recent RFP for Pasco, but they assuage our concerns about, staff and making sure that they'd be able to support us adequately. So I thought they had a strong presentation, and that factored into my score for their approach.
Thank you, Sarah.
The qualifications, I gave them 35, and for methodology and approach, I gave them 22. Basically, mine's based on the fact they have managed some tasks of the RFP, but not a full beginning to end process. I like it that they're HUD's longest TA provider. I think that's a very good benefit. I know they mentioned originally in their application that they were going to launch and implement parallel, and then in their oral, they said they will do sequentially. I'm just referring back to they put that at the beginning, so that's where my lowest score for methodology is.
Okay,
And very similar comments for qualifications, experience and capacity, 35, for methodology and approach, 25. They had limited similar project experience, and I noticed that they just were awarded Pasco County, so that's similar, but they were just awarded that. A good policy side experience, and I was looking for a little more details in their approach in the presentation.
Okay, for qualifications 35, methodology 29. Looking through my notes, I really can't add too much to anything more that was already stated.
for
For qualifications, I have 42. For methodology, I have 32. I thought through their proposal, they demonstrated they're capable to manage large-scale projects. They're HUD's longest standing technical assistance provider, so I think they have capacity to support the county's project. Their approach, I thought, lacked details, especially in areas of infrastructure planning, construction management, and the intake process.
For me, on their qualifications, I have 35, and on their methodology, I have 29. I thought they had a pretty good application. It was a little bit light and not really clear in all areas of the methodology. I also feel like they have a very deep bench. And that they've been around for a long time, so they can draw on that knowledge and experience. Comfortable, very comfortable with them, and with the score.
Great, thanks. I gave them 46 for qualifications, 31 for methodology. Just a couple data points there. I appreciated that they had read and referenced the Black and Beach report and attended our hearings. I thought that was good. They also have some strong HUD experience, which we know is important. Otherwise, I think I would share some of the other comments about going into too much detail. So that, in terms of scoring, then we're a little bit clustered in this case around 35. So we have 4 of us citing 35 and 3 of us above 40, 2 46s and a 42. That being the case, would people be comfortable, again, 435, so that's the majority, but just giving those who ranked them higher, would people be comfortable with a 37 for qualifications?
What was the range again?
We had 4 35s.
Mm-hmm.
We had a 42 and 2 46s. The vote is a little bit lower, so 35 were four of them, but again, 3 people gave them above 40.
Yes, it's a
So the
people who
people
might
that,
hire.
yeah, the higher people.
So Lauren and I gave each 46 and Irma gave 42 on qualifications. So that, again, moving toward a score. I was thinking in the high 30s to account for those who scored higher, but also the 40 who scored in the 35 area, which was 4 of us. We visited 38, 39, 37. These are the numbers I'm thinking of. 38, I would pick the middle. Can you live 38 for qualifications? Okay.
Yep.
38, I'm gonna page 2. Yep, okay. Okay, with methodology, we had 3 people in the 30s, but low 30s, 31, 32, 33. And the 20s ranged a little bit more, 22, 25, and 2 29s. So that's where we were there. So again, we have a few in the 30s, a couple high 20s, and then in mid 20s. Can we live 29 for methodology? You okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks, team. We are moving right along. We have 2 left, but the next one is indelible solutions. And Lauren, what was yours?
For qualifications, I gave 40, methodology 26. For having worked with the county on the action plan, I was really looking for a lot more than both the proposal and the presentation seemed to bring. Hearing, some of the concerns that were mentioned regarding working with them on the action plan and feeling like they did not maybe understand those concerns, or they didn't resonate with them. I'm not sure, but I was really looking for more. I think I even asked during the presentation about kind of, lessons learned, and they kind of skirted the question, and it just, I didn't get the sense that there was going to be that team, that strong bond that we're really looking for with, what we keep talking about is this 6-year marriage. So that reflected my methodology and approach. Yeah, my comments.
Yes, Sarah.
For qualifications, I gave indelible 24, and for mythology, I gave them 22. This is primarily based on mirroring Lauren's comments. Seems indelible what was on the action plan. I would expect a more in-depth and robust pathology behind their application. Also, from my understanding, they haven't managed a project of this size or this complexity from end to end. They were a subcontractor basically to KPMG. And also in relation to the actual application and the methodology, there were some questions that were completely missed. For example, no critical success factors identified or unique value proposition. That's the reason for my scores.
Excellent. Thank you. Debbie.
Very similar comments for qualifications, experience, and capacity, 33 for methodology and approach, 23. And again, echoing what's already been said, limited experience with a project of our size and scope, and looking for some additional details in the presentation.
Qualifications 35, methodology 28. After our discussion and in the oral presentation, I felt like the oral presentation didn't really give me any confidence. It seemed busy, not very focused, and the big group was very confusing. I should say very confusing. I wrote confusing. Take off the very.
For qualifications, I have 38, methodology and approach 28. Thought their proposal highlighted their experience. They provided a large team of 32 professionals and indicate they have the capacity to scale up operations. They have a Florida-based workforce. However, the organizational structure lacked some details, and it relied heavily on subcontractors, I thought. Also, their approach lacked details on performance monitoring, infrastructure, and economic revitalization.
Okay, thank you.
For me, for the qualifications, I gave them a 38. For the methodology, I gave them a 30. And I don't think I can add much more than what's already been said.
Okay, thank you. I gave them 26 for qualifications, 21 for methodology. Felt a couple of thoughts, I guess. One, I thought regarding methodology, I thought it was a difficult proposal to follow. The bigger picture, they did rely on subs. And my preference is we need a prime who's done all of this before, so they know that they can keep their subs accountable for the level of performance we're expecting. And I don't believe that was the case in terms of their strength relative to some of their subs. That being the case, as we look at these scores, we are, let's see, bear with me. So we are as follows. So qualifications, the highest score given was a 40. And then we had a couple at 38. Then so this was kind of a little bit, grouped in certain areas. So 2 38s and a 40, 35 and a 33, so mid 30s, and then we had 2 mid 20s. So we have a bit of a range between 24 and 40 in the qualifications area of this. Would we be comfortable with a 33 or an ultimate score on this for qualifications? Yes.
That would work for me.
Okay. 33. Yeah. Our methodology scores were closer in in range with almost all of them. Well, I should say a couple high 20s and a 30, and the rest, and then three high 20s, three low 20s, and 1 26 sort of in the middle. Would we be okay with a 25 for methodology?
Yeah.
Okay,
25.
What was the range again?
the range for methodology, I'll just name them in order so everyone can hear them again. 21, 22, 23, 26, 28, 28, 30. So 3 at 28 or above, 3 at 23 or below, and 1 at 26 kind of in the middle. And add a couple on the higher, a few on the lower, and then. We good? Okay with 25?
You good, Joe?
Yeah.
25.
Okay, we have one left, and that is Tetra Tech.
So for qualifications, I gave them 42, and methodology a 28. I thought their oral presentation was very cohesive. They seemed to present a pretty unified front, managing the program. I loved that they took all of the constructive criticisms that we provided and they addressed them head on in the presentation. I thought that was brilliant. I also really appreciated that they took one of the concerns that we had and actually presented a solution, a pivot in how they were going to manage. I thought that was great, and that I factored into the methodology score. And I think that was primarily it. They addressed the call center as well. I just thought they really used their presentation to their advantage. That is really strong.
Thank you. Sarah.
For qualifications, I have 24. For methodology and approach, I have 28. The agency mentioned Harris County, which was single family homes as their comparable project, which was not, all RFP tasks. Also in their, although they addressed it in their oral presentation, in their actual application, they had for task 3, an individual who had no housing experience in the proposal, which to me shows a lack of really understanding that as one of our main features, and that should be one of the positions that was, highly qualified for us. As I said, the oral presentation did attempt to rectify this, but I believe that their written application stands first and foremost. And some of their subcontractors, Navely and Fernley, they've only been subcontracting in partnership since 2025, and they have no experience with CMTS, Joule, or Playbook.
Okay, thank you, Debbie.
Okay, again, similar comments for qualifications, experience, and capacity, 35, methodology and approach, 26. And I do agree with Lauren, where the proposal was missing or we had questions, they did a good job filling it in with their oral presentation. However, there were some details that were still missing without having the experience with a project as broad as ours, maybe a little more details on how they would manage something of our scope, especially utilizing the subs. I know they have strong infrastructure experience, but this project is quite a few tasks.
So qualification 40, methodology 30. The oral presentation, like Lauren and Debbie said, they clarified a lot of the information that we had discussed in the first meeting, described very detailed the call center, right away proposed an alternative staff, which is Jorge Ramirez for the housing work. I really like the one-stop dashboard discussion. We talked about case management and eligibility review.
Thank you. Irma.
Qualifications, I have 40, methodology and approach, I have 30. I thought their proposal demonstrated they have experience. sufficient staffing capacity, a Florida presence. And however, their proposal showed that their direct housing experience, particularly in the single family housing, is limited. They tried to address this during their presentation. Some of the tasks were not supported by case studies with their approach. However, as everyone else has stated, I thought their presentation was great. I mean, they took all of our concerns and questions and addressed those head on. So I appreciated that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Cheryl.
For me, for their qualifications, I gave them a 46. And for their methodology, 46 as well. I thought that, and I really grilled them on the Harris County in the workout in Houston. Because I was particularly interested. I just thought some things kind of didn't come together, but I was extremely pleased with their response, how they responded to some of our concerns from the day before in their evaluations. I thought that they were a very, very strong proposer. I like their presentation to us, but as I said before, presentations don't always equal outcomes. But yeah. So.
I gave them 36 for qualifications and 31 for methodology. I think that they're a very strong engineering and infrastructure firm, but this is a lot more complicated, and that their housing experience didn't match that. I like the directness of the presentation in addressing our issues. I too share the concern, though, that the original housing lead had no housing experience, which was just to me a surprise, even though they did pivot on that. And then the last thing I would say about orals is I would have liked to have heard more from the actual program manager who would have been assigned to us, as opposed to the practice lead. It's just something in my mind is important because we'll see the PM more than the lead. So those are my thoughts on that. In terms of scores here, we have a bit of a range from 24 to 46. And in terms of numbers, I'll just read them again to the group because I know we're got a lot of numbers flowing around. So I'll start with those 24. We then have a 35, a 36, 2 40s, a 42, and a 46. So we have a 22-point swing between the lowest and the highest. Acknowledging that we have some more favorable than others. Can we live with a 38 for qualifications?
Well, I'm the one that's bottom, but I marked low for, across the board, but,
And if you feel smaller, that's fine.
and the top mark was what, 46 that came in?
Yeah, we had 146, which was a bit higher than the others. Most people clustered in the mid 30s to 40 range.
What were you posting again?
Could you read out the scores again?
Yeah, of course. I'll start with the lowest again. 24,
Mm-hmm.
35, 36. So mid 20s, 2 mid 30s. And then they have 3, a 40, a 40, and a 42, which are just called low 40s or 40, and then a 46. So we have several in the 40, in the very low 40s range, a couple in the mid 30s. And then the bookends are quite disparate, right? With 24 and a 46. So
And what were your?
I proposed 38.
The maximum I would come up to is probably 39, 40. That's the maximum. And if you're proposing 38, I think 38, I'm good with that. So, yeah.
I was at 47. That works for me.
40 works for me.
Uh,
39.
I'm usually facilitating, but I feel like 38 or 39 is more appropriate just based on everything that I saw. You came up,
I came up from 24,
You
so
came up-
I'm not really going up anymore.
no, so 38.
Yeah.
30.
Okay.
And you came up 14 points.
Yeah, I came up 14. but then I did mark low compared to everybody else.
And in this case, Cheryl will go down 8. So you went up not twice as much, but nearly twice as much. Would you be okay with 38 then?
Really, I just thought that 40 was a fair number.
On what basis? If we could just understand your thinking so we can talk about it some more.
Well, I thought I explained it, but I'll talk about it a little bit more, right, yeah. So I thought the qualifications were really good. I think that, everybody, all of the proposals really rely on each other. So saying that, okay, they haven't done this in whole or in the end, they had a good group of people together that I thought they had local people and they had, their prime people as well, but I thought they brought a good team. I thought their proposal was good. I thought they paid attention to detail. I think their responses to our concerns were really good as well. And I thought they pivoted very, very quickly in which is something that is promising if we're looking at working with them. So.
Sarah, maybe say a few more things about your thoughts, just because I think most of us are clustered for the middle of
Yes,
this.
some of the comments were basically around some of the case studies. So they mentioned Puerto Rico, which was a 300 million city revitalization project. That was not full coverage of all tasks. Harris County was 1.2 billion. That was focusing on housing only, no infrastructure, compliance, economic revitalization, i.e. full tasks. What else? And once again, the relationship with some of the subcontractors, they hadn't been in a relationship with those subcontractors for a very extended period of time.
But I also think that's the nature of it, that you come together to do these, And when you think about an area like Harris County is Houston, Texas, and that's a very urbanized area, very complex. So when we think about housing, yeah, there's a single family portion of it, there's a multi-family portion of it, and that doing and because it's this CDBG that comes from housing and urban development, a lot of housing goes into this anyway, and a lot of housing is already included in our application. So I just thought that they did a really, really good job.
Cheryl, what are your thoughts about them assigning in their proposal someone who's never led a single family housing program or disaster recovery?
I think they pivoted. I think everybody is looking at who they can draw. If you look at some of the other ones, they're drawing from, I'm seeing people constantly moving around in this industry, and they're going from government to some of the nonprofits, to some of the vendors. And so I see that constant dynamic that's happening here. So
Did it concern you though, in the proposal, that lead over your area would have not done this before?
but I think I brought that up, and I also said that I was very, very comfortable with their pivoting as well. So, there's no perfect applications that's before us. And so I thought that they came with a very, very strong proposal. I thought that they listened well to what we were saying, that they were very responsive, that they have, I think that they got everything to be able to bring it across the line, and that's my thing.
And maybe at this point, were you going to say something?
I was just gonna make a comment that I think the direction, at least the way I understood it, was that these oral presentations were not meant to be a regurgitation of the proposals. They were meant to be taking the feedback that we had given and kind of, incorporating that into. So I think to Cheryl's point, and I said this too, that the fact that they took the things that we said and they incorporated that into their presentation really showed that, they're willing to, kind of hear our feedback and incorporate that. So just a general comment.
No, thank you. We want this to be as, transparent as possible around our thoughts on this. So we have a Cheryl at a 40 and a Sarah at a 38, based on the fact you came up with 14. Can we live with a 39 as a final number by the group's decision?
Okay.
39 it is.
Everyone agrees, 39?
Okay. Methodology, we're a little bit more consistent. We have 3 scores in the mid to high 20s, 26 and 28 and 28. Then we have 2 30s. So between 26 and 30, that accounts for 5 of our votes. Actually, there's a 31 as well. So 6 of our votes are between 26 and 31. Let me put it that way. And Cheryl, you were at a 46, which is the outlier just in terms of scores.
It's out of 35 points. So what was your score?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was your methodology score? I wrote 46, but that's impossible. What was your methodology score?
It was higher. Okay.
Yeah, good call. I'm looking at that and thinking that's a big difference. And no wonder it's above the 35 total. What was your methodology, Tetra Tech score?
I guess it would have to be 35. I apologize. But
So you're gonna give a 46 out of 50, but a 35 out of 35. Just want to understand for the methodology piece.
yes.
Yeah. You want to give a 35?
Yeah.
Perfect score. Okay.
Just a typo.
That changes things a little bit. So now we have most scores between 26 and 31 with 1 at 35, which is the highest. So 28, 28 and 30, 30. When you look at where we're clustered, would we be okay living with a 29 or a 30? Does did either of those numbers give us heartburn?
What's the numbers again, please?
We have 3 in the 20s, 26, 28, 28. We have 3 that are essentially the lowest 30s, 30, 30, 31. So we have the first group is hovering around 27, 28, and the second group's hovering around 30. And we have 1 at 35, which is your score you just provided. So if you really look at where 30 is kind of where we're all at for the most part when we take into account the extremes on both ends. Can we live at a 30 for methodology?
Happy to come up, I was 28.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
you were 28.
had a 30 anyway, so yeah.
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 I think 30 is the fairest number based just on the votes we got.
30, that'd be good.
Yes.
There it is. Last one took a little longer, but thank you, everyone. I think we got through every all set, right?
Yes, we. Okay, I will go ahead and confirm the final scores with you guys, and announce the scores for criteria 3 cost. Before I do that, Bob, you just said it. Thank you guys for all the meetings. It's a long process and a lot of hard work, so I appreciate all the effort you guys put in getting to today. Let's see here. I'm going to go one by one and read off the scores the committee decided on. If you guys want to say the 2 scores, just agree that that was the correct scoring before we finalize it. Sure. And then I'll read the other scores. So elite business strategies for criteria 1, qualifications, experience, and capacity. We scored them a 25 out of 50. And for methodology and approach, we scored them a 20 out of 35. Is that correct?
Yes.
For total cost, criteria 3, they got 15 points for a total score of 60. Ernst & Young, they received 45 points out of 50 for qualifications, experience, and capacity, and 33 out of 35 for methodology and approach. Is that agreed? They also received 3.2 points for cost for a total score of 81.2. Guidehouse, they received 36 for criteria 1 and 27 for criteria 2. Correct?
Yes.
Perfect. They received 4.6 points on criteria 3 cost for a total score of 67.6. Horn LLP received 43 out of 50 for criteria 1 and 32 out of 35 for criteria 2. That agreed? 2.6 for cost, criteria 3 for a total score of 77.6. ICF Incorporated received 38 for criteria 1 and 29 for criteria 2. Okay. They also received 5.6 for total cost, criteria 3 for a total score of 72.6. Indelible Management Solutions received 33 out of 50 for criteria 1 and 25 out of 35 for criteria 2. Correct? Perfect. They received 2.1 for criteria 3 cost for a total score of 60.1. Tetra Tech Inc. received 39 out of 50 for criteria 1 and 30 out of 35 for criteria 2. Correct? Perfect. And then 5.8 for a total cost criteria 3 for a total score of 74.8. So if I were to read those in order, ranked 1 through 7, it would go as such. Ernst & Young ranked first with 81.2 points. Horn ranked second with 77.6. Tetra Tech ranked third with 74.8. ICF Incorporated ranked fourth with 72.6. Guidehouse ranked fifth with 67.6. Indelible ranked sixth with 60.1. And then Elite Business ranked seventh with 60. Is that correct?
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, proposers, if you're watching online today, please remember that the cone of silence is still in effect, and please continue to monitor UNA for further updates on this solicitation. Is there anything else from you guys as the committee?
Well, just again, thank you to everyone online with us and everyone around the table for their hard efforts.
Okay, that will conclude the evaluation committee meeting for RFP 25-00293. Have a good day, everyone.